The sun hung low over the manicured lawns of Willow Creek Estates, casting long shadows across the identical beige houses that lined the cul-de-sac like obedient soldiers. I had moved here 3 years ago, seeking the suburban dream after a messy divorce left me craving stability. My name is Alex Thompson, a mid-40s software engineer with a penchant for weekend barbecues and a small vegetable garden in the backyard. Little did I know that this idyllic neighborhood was ruled by an iron-fisted homeowners association, and at its helm was Karen Whitaker, the self-appointed queen of conformity. Karen was in her late 50s, with a perm that defied gravity and a wardrobe straight out of a 1980s catalog, pastel, cardigans and pleated khakis that screamed, "I have opinions on your mailbox color." She patrolled the streets in her golf cart, clipboard in hand, issuing citations for everything from overgrown hedges to holiday lights left up a day too long. My first encounter with her was innocuous enough. She knocked on my door one crisp autumn morning, her smile as fake as her spray tan, to inform me that my tomato plants were unsightly and violated Section 4.2 of the HOA bylaws. I laughed it off, thinking it was a joke, but the $50 fine that arrived in the mail the next week told me otherwise. As the months turned into years, Karen's nitpicking escalated. She complained about the shade of my front door, too vibrant. Apparently, the way my car was parked, not perfectly parallel, and even the breed of my dog Buster, a friendly golden retriever she deemed too boisterous. I tried to play nice, attending the monthly HOA meetings where Karen held court like a monarch, her gavel a cheap wooden mallet that echoed through the community center. But tensions simmered beneath the surface. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, I came home to find a notice taped to my garage. My new fence was 2 inches too tall. Furious, I confronted her at her house across the street, where she sipped iced tea on her porch swing. "This is ridiculous, Karen," I said, my voice steady but edged with frustration. "I'm not tearing down a perfectly good fence over 2 inches." She peered over her reading glasses, her eyes narrowing like a predator spotting weakness. "Rules are rules, Mr. Thompson. If you don't like them, perhaps Willow Creek isn't for you." That night, as I lay in bed, Buster snoring at my feet, I wondered if I had made a mistake moving here. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a war that would consume everything I held dear. The next morning, I decided to fight back subtly. I joined the HOA board as a member, hoping to influence change from within. Karen wasn't pleased. During our first meeting, she shot down every suggestion I made, from relaxing garden restrictions to allowing solar panels. "We must maintain property values," she'd say, her mantra for control. But I persisted, gathering allies among the neighbors, Tom from down the block, whose kid's trampoline had been banned, and Maria, who wanted to paint her shutters blue. We formed a small coalition, whispering in driveways about petitions and amendments. Karen sensed the shift. Her patrols increased, and fines rained down like confetti at a parade. One day, she caught me planting wildflowers in my front yard, a deliberate act of rebellion. "This is a violation!" she shrieked, her voice carrying to the next street. I smiled calmly. "Check the bylaws, Karen. Native plants are encouraged for environmental reasons." She stormed off, but I could see the fury in her eyes. That evening, as the sun set, I noticed her watching my house from her window, binoculars in hand. It was unsettling, but I brushed it off. Weeks passed, and our skirmishes grew more intense. At the annual HOA barbecue, I proposed a vote to limit the president's term, aimed squarely at her decade-long reign. The vote was close, but it failed thanks to her loyalists. Afterward, she cornered me by the grill. "You're playing with fire, Alex," she hissed, her breath smelling of potato salad. I chuckled. "Is that a threat?" She didn't respond, just walked away with a smug grin. That night, I couldn't sleep, a nagging unease settling in my gut. Around 2 a.m., Buster's barking jolted me awake. I smelled smoke, acrid and thick. Rushing to the window, I saw flames licking the side of my house, starting from the backyard where my garden was. Panic surged through me as I grabbed Buster and fled out the front door, dialing 911. The fire department arrived quickly, but not before the blaze consumed half my home. As I stood on the lawn in my pajamas, watching firefighters battle the inferno, I caught sight of Karen across the street, her face illuminated by the orange glow, a faint smile playing on her lips. The arson investigation was swift but inconclusive at first. No accelerants were found initially, but a deeper probe revealed traces of gasoline near the fence. the same fence she'd complained about. Witnesses reported seeing her golf cart in the vicinity earlier that evening. The police questioned her, but she denied everything, claiming she was home watching reruns of Murder, She Wrote. I knew it was her. The motive was clear. My insurance covered the damages, but the emotional toll was immense. I moved into a rental nearby, vowing revenge. But how? Suing the HOA seemed futile. They had deep pockets and lawyers on retainer. Then an idea struck me during a sleepless night. I was a software engineer, skilled in coding and data analysis. Perhaps I could dig into Karen's past, uncover dirt that would bury her. I started small, searching public records online. What I found was a goldmine. Karen had a history of disputes in previous neighborhoods, fines, lawsuits, even an allegation of vandalism against a neighbor's car. But the real bombshell was her financials. She was embezzling from the HOA funds. Small amounts at first, but over years it added up to thousands. Armed with this, I anonymously tipped off the authorities. But I wanted more. I wanted her to face me directly. As fate would have it, opportunity knocked the following week. I had jury duty summons for the local courthouse. On the first day, as I sat in the juror pool, the case was announced, a fraud trial involving misappropriation of community funds. The defendant? Karen Whitaker. My heart raced as she entered the courtroom, her perm slightly disheveled, her cardigan buttoned wrong. Our eyes met and the color drained from her face. She had burned my house to the ground, and now she walked into my courtroom unaware that I held the power to decide her fate. The selection process began and I played it cool, answering questions neutrally. When asked if I knew the defendant, I hesitated for a split second but said no. Technically, we were neighbors, but the judge accepted it. As I was selected for the jury, Karen's lawyer objected, but it was overruled. The trial unfolded like a drama scripted for TV. Prosecutors presented evidence of forged checks, inflated vendor bills, and secret bank accounts. Karen took the stand, her voice quivering as she denied it all, painting herself as a dedicated community leader. I sat there stone-faced, but inside I was reveling. During deliberations, I steered the conversation, highlighting inconsistencies in her story. The jury convicted her on all counts. As the verdict was read, she glared at me, realizing too late who I was. Sentencing came swiftly, 5 years probation, restitution, and community service. But the real justice was seeing her empire crumble. The HOA dissolved her position, and neighbors turned against her. I rebuilt my house stronger, with a taller fence and wilder garden, free from her tyranny. Willow Creek breathed easier, and I found peace in the ashes of revenge. Rebuilding after the fire was a cathartic process, one that allowed me to redesign not just my home, but my life in Willow Creek. The insurance payout was generous, covering a modern upgrade with smart home features and energy-efficient windows that Karen would have hated. As contractors hammered away, I delved deeper into the HOA's underbelly, using my tech skills to hack into their email server. Ethically, of course. Through public access points and forgotten passwords I'd overheard at meetings. What I uncovered was a web of corruption. Karen had allies on the board who benefited from kickbacks on landscaping contracts and pool maintenance deals. I compiled a dossier, complete with timestamps and IP addresses, and shared it anonymously with the local newspaper. The article hit the stands a week after her trial, titled HOA Tyrant Exposed, Embezzlement and Arson Allegations Rock Willow Creek. The community erupted. Petitions circulated to dissolve the HOA entirely. Karen, out on bail awaiting appeal, barricaded herself in her home, peeking through curtains as reporters camped outside. I watched from my newly sodded lawn, sipping coffee, Buster at my side. But revenge wasn't complete. I wanted her to feel the isolation she'd inflicted on so many. One evening I organized a neighborhood block party, sans HOA approval, inviting everyone but her. Laughter and music filled the air as grills sizzled and kids played. Karen emerged, furious, demanding we shut it down for noise violations. The crowd jeered. Tom yelled, "You're not in charge anymore!" She retreated, defeated. Days later, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. She was leaving, but not before one final confrontation. She knocked on my door, her face a mask of rage. "You did this," she accused. I shrugged. "Rules are rules, Karen." As she stormed off, I felt a twinge of pity, but it faded quickly. The new HOA, reformed under democratic principles, elected me as president. I implemented fair policies, gardens encouraged, fences flexible, dogs welcome. Willow Creek transformed into a vibrant community, free from fear. Yet echoes of the fire lingered in my dreams, flames dancing, her silhouette in the night. I installed security cameras just in case. Months passed and life normalized. I started dating Maria, the shutter-painting rebel, our shared rebellion blossoming into romance. Buster approved, wagging his tail at our picnics. Karen's house sold to a young family who painted it bright yellow, her worst nightmare. I heard she moved to a condo downtown where anonymous living suited her better. But fate has a funny way of circling back. A year later, I received a letter from her lawyer. She was suing me for defamation over the anonymous tip. The case landed in the same courthouse. This time, I was the defendant, but armed with evidence and a community behind me. The trial was a spectacle. Witnesses testified to her abuses, turning the tables. Karen took the stand again, but her credibility was shot. The judge dismissed the case, ordering her to pay my legal fees. As she left the courtroom, our eyes met once more. Hers defeated, mine triumphant. I walked out into the sunlight, Willow Creek waiting, a testament to resilience. The fire had destroyed my house, but it forged something stronger, a neighborhood united against tyranny. And in the end, Karen's reign of terror became just another suburban legend, whispered at barbecues with a knowing smile. With the lawsuits behind me, I threw myself into community building, turning Willow Creek into a model of neighborly harmony. We hosted garden tours where my wildflowers took center stage, inspiring others to ditch their cookie-cutter lawns for biodiversity. Tom and I started a tech club for kids, teaching coding basics in the community center, once Karen's throne room, now a hub of creativity. Maria and I grew closer, our dates evolving from coffee to weekend getaways, her laughter a balm for old wounds. Buster, ever the loyal companion, adapted to the changes, his barks now greetings rather than alarms. But shadows of the past occasionally crept in. Anonymous letters arrived, postmarked from downtown, filled with veiled threats. "Watch your back," one read. I reported them to the police, who traced them back to Karen's new address. A restraining order followed, but it did little to quell the unease. One stormy night, as thunder rattled the windows, my security system alerted me to motion in the backyard. Heart pounding, I checked the cameras, a figure in a raincoat tampering with the fence. I called the cops, who arrived to find Karen, soaked and seething, holding wire cutters. "This isn't over," she spat as they cuffed her. Violating probation landed her in jail for 6 months. The news spread like wildfire, pun intended, solidifying her villain status. During her incarceration, I focused on healing. Therapy sessions helped process the trauma, turning anger into empathy for her possible mental health struggles. But forgiveness? That was a bridge too far. Upon release, Karen vanished, rumors swirling of a move out of state. Willow Creek flourished without her. Property values rose not from conformity, but from genuine appeal. I proposed to Maria at our annual block party, the ring hidden in a tomato from my garden. She said yes, and cheers erupted. Our wedding was a neighborhood affair, with Buster as ring bearer. Life seemed perfect, but twists loomed. A detective contacted me. New evidence in the arson case, a gas can with her fingerprints overlooked initially. Reopening the investigation led to charges. Karen was arrested again, this time for arson. The trial was swift. I testified, recounting the night of the fire. She broke down on the stand, admitting jealousy over my defiance. Sentenced to 5 years, she was led away in tears. Closure finally arrived. I sold my house, moving with Maria to a rural property, no HOA in sight. Buster chased squirrels in acres of freedom. Willow Creek remained a fond memory, a chapter closed. Years later, I wrote a book about the ordeal, Burned but Unbroken, hitting bestseller lists. Karen from prison sent a letter. "I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Some fires are best left extinguished. Settling into rural life brought a peace I hadn't known in years, with rolling hills replacing rigid lawns and the only rules being those of nature." Maria and I built a cozy cabin, complete with a sprawling garden that would make any HOA shudder. Buster roamed freely, his golden fur catching the sunlight as he explored. My software career shifted to remote consulting, allowing flexibility for writing and community outreach. The book tour for Burned but Unbroken took me across the country, sharing my story at bookstores and podcasts. Audiences gasped at Karen's antics, relating their own HOA horrors. One evening in Chicago, a fan approached. "My neighbor's just like her. Any advice?" I smiled. "Document everything and stand your ground." Back home, Maria surprised me with news we were expecting. Joy overwhelmed me, but so did protectiveness. I installed advanced security, lessons from the past etched deep. As months passed, the baby bump grew, and we prepared the nursery with hand-painted murals of forests and animals. Buster sniffed curiously, sensing change. Then, a call from the prison. Karen wanted to meet. Curiosity won. I visited, separated by glass. She looked frail, her perm gone, eyes hollow. I was wrong, she whispered. Power corrupted me, I nodded. Why the fire? She sighed. You challenged my world. We talked for hours. She shared her backstory, abusive childhood, control as coping. I left with mixed feelings, not forgiveness, but understanding. Releasing the grudge lightened my soul. Our son, Liam, arrived on a crisp fall day, his cries echoing hope. Maria beamed. Buster licked his tiny feet. Life cycled forward. I started a blog on community governance, advising against toxic HOAs. It gained traction, leading to speaking gigs. One at a conference in Florida drew a surprise attendee. Karen, paroled early for good behavior. She approached post-talk. Your book changed me. We chatted civilly. She volunteered at a shelter now, helping others. Redemption possible. Back home, Liam's first steps coincided with our garden's harvest. Maria and I hosted friends from Willow Creek, reminiscing without bitterness. Buster aged gracefully, his loyalty unwavering. As the sun set on our hill, I reflected. From ashes rose growth, from conflict came connection. Karen's fire destroyed a house but ignited my purpose. And in the quiet countryside, free from bylaws, I found true home years blended into a tapestry of family milestones, with Liam growing into a curious toddler, his laughter filling our cabin like music. Maria pursued her art, painting vibrant landscapes that sold at local galleries, while I balanced consulting with advocacy work against oppressive HOAs. Buster, now gray-muzzled, remained our faithful guardian, sleeping by Liam's crib. The blog evolved into a nonprofit, Free Neighborhoods, helping communities rewrite bylaws for fairness. Success brought media attention. A documentary crew filmed our story, interviewing former Willow Creek residents. Karen appeared too, her segment poignant. She admitted faults, crediting prison for self-reflection. Watching the rough cut, I felt closure. But life throws curves. A letter arrived. Karen was dying, cancer from years of stress, she claimed. She requested a visit. Maria urged compassion. I flew to her hospice. Frail in bed, she handed me a box, HOA records, her confessions. Make it right, she whispered. I promised. Back home, I donated the funds she'd embezzled to community causes. Her passing made headlines, a cautionary tale. Liam started school, his backpack adorned with wildflower stickers. Maria and I adopted a puppy Scout to keep Buster company. The nonprofit thrived, lobbying for state laws capping HOA powers. At a rally, I met survivors of similar tyrannies, their stories fueling change. One night, stargazing with family, I pondered fate's twists, from enemy to catalyst. Karen's actions, though destructive, propelled my path. Liam pointed to a shooting star. Wish, Dad. I wished for peace. As Buster passed peacefully in his sleep, we buried him under our oak tree, tears mingling with gratitude. Scout bounded on, life renewing. Maria and I renewed vows on our anniversary, Liam as witness. The cabin expanded, rooms for dreams. My second book, From Flames to Freedom, chronicled the journey. Dedication to Karen, unlikely teacher. In the end, her fire illuminated shadows, burning away illusions of control, revealing community's true strength. Decades later, as gray threaded my hair, Liam graduated college, pursuing environmental law, inspired by our garden battles. Maria's art adorned museums, her series Suburban Shadows depicting HOA struggles symbolically. Scout's lineage continued with pups frolicking in fields. The nonprofit had reformed hundreds of communities, earning awards. I retired, penning memoirs by the fireside, ironic warmth. Willow Creek, now a distant memory, had become a co-op model. Karen's grave, visited once, bore flowers from me. Her legacy? A warning etched in policy. Grandchildren arrived, their visits filled with stories of Grandpa's adventure. Did the mean lady really burn your house? They'd ask wide-eyed. I'd nod, adding, but from bad comes good. Maria and I traveled, speaking at global conferences on civic harmony. One trip to Europe, we met similar activists, bonds forming over shared tales. Homeward, Liam announced his run for local office platform, equitable housing. Proud, we campaigned, echoes of past fights resonating. As I watched sunsets, peace settled deep. The fire's scars faded, replaced by growth's beauty. Karen's walk into my courtroom. A pivotal twist, justice's poetic turn. Life's chapters closed gracefully, lessons enduring. In quiet moments, I thanked the flames, for without destruction, no rebirth. Reflecting on the saga's breadth, I marveled at how one person's vendetta rippled through lives, reshaping destinies. Liam's election victory brought reforms, dismantling outdated HOA structures statewide. Maria curated an exhibit, Ashes to Art, blending her paintings with artifacts from the fire, charred wood framed as symbols of resilience. Grandkids painted alongside her, creativity unbound. The nonprofit globalized, partnering with international groups against community overreach. I guest lectured at universities, students hanging on tales of digital sleuthing and courtroom drama. Technology as equalizer, I'd say. Evenings, Maria and I danced under stars, Buster's spirit in the wind. A biopic optioned my books, actors portraying Karen's complexity, not villain but flawed human. Filming on location stirred memories. Extras were old neighbors, laughs shared. Premiere night, family cheered as credits rolled. Post-film discussions on forgiveness sparked. Karen's family reached out, grateful for nuanced depiction. Bonds mended across divides. Liam's policies passed, celebrated with toasts. As great-grandchildren arrived, legacy solidified. The cabin, now a family compound, hosted reunions. Stories evolved into legends, inspiring plays and podcasts. In twilight years, I wrote a final volume, Embers of Empathy, exploring antagonist humanity. Maria passed first, peacefully in sleep, her hand in mine. I followed soon after, surrounded by love. From beyond, perhaps Karen and I shared a nod. Enemies turned teachers in eternity's classroom. The fire? A spark that illuminated paths unforeseen. The story's echoes lingered in cultural memory, with HOA Karen becoming slang for overzealous enforcers. Liam's governorship expanded reforms nationally, HOAs regulated like utilities. Maria's art inspired movements, galleries hosting rebellion through color. Grandchildren innovated, one inventing app for community voting, bypassing boards. The nonprofit, under new leadership, tackled global issues like housing equity. My memoirs, required reading in civics classes, sparked debates on power dynamics. Annual freedom festivals in Willow Creek honored the transformation, fireworks symbolizing risen phoenixes. Family traditions included garden plantings, each seed a nod to defiance. As generations passed, the tale morphed. Comics, VR experiences immersing users in the drama. Karen's redemption arc humanized her. Lessons in mental health advocacy. Liam retired, penning his own book, crediting roots in our struggle. Great-grandkids, tech-savvy, digitized archives making history accessible. The cabin became a museum, tours recounting the saga. In quiet exhibits, visitors pondered, one act's far-reaching impact. From courtroom confrontation to societal shift, the narrative endured, a testament to resilience's power. Fires destroy, but embers ignite change eternal. Centuries hence, historians cited the Willow Creek Revolt as a microcosm of 21st century social shifts, where individual defiance toppled institutional control. Liam's descendants held public office, upholding equity legacies. Maria's art influenced design philosophies, wild aesthetics prevailing over uniformity. The nonprofit evolved into a UN-affiliated entity, advising on communal governance worldwide. My story, archived in digital halls, inspired AI simulations for conflict resolution training. Festivals globalized, celebrating community autonomy. Family lore passed orally, embellished with heroic flair. Karen's name, synonymous with caution, featured in psychology texts on authority complexes. Technological advancements allowed holographic retellings, immersing audiences in the fire's heat, the courtroom's tension. As society advanced, principles endured. Question power, foster empathy. The cabin, preserved as heritage site, drew pilgrims seeking inspiration. In an era of harmony, the saga reminded of struggles past, ensuring vigilance. From one burned house, a world reborn, testimony to human spirit's unquenchable flame. In the annals of time, the HOA Karen incident symbolized turning points where personal vendettas birthed broader revolutions. Future societies, free from such tyrannies, revered the narrative as foundational myth. Art, literature, and philosophy drew from its depths, exploring themes of justice, redemption, and renewal. Family lines intertwined with history, descendants pioneering empathetic AI governance. The nonprofit's ethos permeated global policies, eradicating control's shadows. Interactive museums allowed visitors to live the story, choices altering outcomes, lessons in agency. Karen's complexity taught nuance, villains as products of pain. Annual commemorations lit symbolic bonfires, honoring transformation. As stars wheeled overhead, the legacy shone. From destruction's ashes, infinite possibilities arose. The courtroom walk? Eternity's pivot where fate danced with free will. In end, the story wasn't just mine, but humanity's, a beacon against darkness forever burning bright.